Today, we are diving into one of paleontology's absolute greatest and, honestly, weirdest unsolved mysteries. I mean, seriously, what do you get when you cross an eel, a squid, and a cartoon alien? Just picture that for a second. It sounds like the beginning of a really, really weird joke, right? Well, spoiler alert, it's not a joke. It is a very real puzzle that has had scientists scratching their heads for over 60 years. We're talking about a creature so bizarre that even today, we can't say for sure what it is. So, to really get a grip on this thing, we've got to go back, way back to where it all started, a monster found in the mud. Okay, so this whole saga has some wild twists and turns. It kicks off with this weird discovery back in 55. Then in 2016, everyone thought, aha, we solved it. Only for everything to get flipped on its head again in 2023. Seriously, it's a scientific roller coaster. And you know who found the first clue? It wasn't some famous scientist in a lab. Nope. It was an amateur collector, a guy named Francis Tully. One summer day in 1955, he's out at the Mawson Creek fossil beds in Illinois, cracks open a rock, and just stops. Because inside is something, well, something that nobody had ever seen before. So let's just talk about how weird this thing looked, okay? You've got this soft body, about a foot long, a flat, kind of barrel-shaped tail, then there's this long, bendy snout with a claw on the end. But the real kicker? Its eyes weren't on its head. They were on stalks, sticking out from this rigid bar. Like, what? So, as you can imagine, this discovery decades of confusion. I mean, what is this thing? Tully takes his fossil to the pros at the Field Museum in Chicago, probably thinking they'll have the answer. But nope. They were just as confused as he was, totally stumped. They were so baffled, they couldn't even put it in a phylum. And you know, a phylum is like the most basic high-level category in the animal kingdom. It's like not knowing if something is an insect, a mammal, or a fish. They had no idea where to even start. So they gave it a name that pretty much summed up their reaction. Tullimonstrum gregarious, which literally means Tully's common monster. And for decades, the theories were just all over the place. People were guessing it was some kind of worm, or maybe a slug. Others thought, hey, maybe it's a mollusk, or even a really weird squid. Nobody could agree on anything. When, finally, after all that time, it looked like we had a breakthrough. A huge study comes out in 2016, and it seemed like, okay, case closed. The vertebrate theory was here. And we're not talking about a small study either. Researchers from Yale and the University of Leicester looked at over 1,000 of these fossils. 1,000. They were throwing everything they had at this thing to finally get an answer. And what they found seemed pretty convincing. They spotted what looked like a notochord. That's basically a primitive backbone. They found teeth made of keratin, just like other vertebrates. Even the chemicals in its eyes matched up. So the conclusion was, it's a vertebrate, a weird, distant cousin of the lamprey. Mystery solved. Or was it? Because just when everyone was getting ready to update the textbooks, the whole thing got turned on its head. A stunning reversal. The case was officially reopened. What happened? Well, in 2023, a new investigation came out. This time, scientists from Japan used some seriously cool 3D scanning tech. This let them see the fossils in a way no one ever had before. And yeah, what they saw changed everything. So you have this great debate, right? Vertebrate versus invertebrate. The 2016 theory said it had a primitive backbone. But this new study in 2023 found that its gill and fin structures, they don't match any known vertebrate. And get this, its body had these weird segments, even in its head. That's a huge red flag because no vertebrate has that. The vertebrate theory started to fall apart. So, if it's not a vertebrate, what is it now? We're right back where we started, asking the same old question. What is this thing? The new verdict is, well, it's still a bit of a maybe. The leading idea now is that it could be an invertebrate chordate. Think of something like a modern lancet. It's kind of on the same family branch as vertebrates, but never actually grew a spine. But honestly, even the scientists who came up with this idea admit it might just be something else entirely, something totally unique. So, what's the verdict on science's greatest mystery? After all this back and forth, the answer is there is no verdict. And you know what? That's what makes this creature so fascinating and so important. Because even with all the mystery, we've pieced together some incredible things about it. We know it lived about 300 million years ago in what used to be Illinois' estuaries. We know its weird stalk eyes had pigment granules, kind of like ours do. And get this, there's evidence in the melanin that suggests it could have had striped or even spotted skin. How cool is that? And that's really the heart of the story, isn't it? The Tully monster proves that science is never truly finished. It's not just a collection of facts in a book. It's this ongoing process of discovery. There's always another fossil out there just waiting to surprise us and make us question everything. It really makes you think, right? What unsolved mystery will rewrite our textbooks next? The Tully monster was just sitting there in a rock for 300 million years. What else is out there waiting for us to find it? What's going to be the next big thing that changes everything we think we know about the story of life on Earth?